It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's transfer window season, people. Who needs Christmas when you have January and all of the comings and goings that may or may not probably happen in the transfer window this coming January? As part of a series of episodes that we are going to be putting out over the next week or two, we are going to be looking today at the City squad as it is and dividing the squad into three categories. Myself, Joe, Andrew, and Kevin will be looking and saying, okay, who is crucial to City's future success? Who is more of a squad player? And who is going to be transfer listed? Now, you may be wondering, well, what do those categories mean? Crucial means someone who is going to be at City and is going to be central to what City are trying to achieve for the next 5 years, say 3 to 5 years. Then squad, that is someone who certainly can serve a purpose and can help complement what those crucial players are trying to achieve. But if the right offer came in for them, it would be difficult for City to turn down. And thirdly, transfer listed. These are players who, for one reason or another, which we will, I am sure, encounter during this episode, are going to be players that City are looking to offload going into this next phase under Pep Guardiola now that he has signed a new contract. And so, as I mentioned before, here with me today are Andrew, Joe, and Kevin. I'm excited because this is kind of like a game show because these three guys are going to be the people who are deciding which of the three categories the players go into. And if they are undecided, I am going to be like the vice president and I'm going to have like the deciding vote. And we're filming this in late December on the night that that Congress just passed. Well, the House of Representatives just passed the bill saying that Americans should get $2,000 stimulus payments, and it's about to go to the Senate. So we are doing our own kind of Senate thing here.
More efficient version. Unlike Mike Pence, you aren't going to decide that you win the presidential election.
That's true. I'm not gonna. I am unlike Mike Pence in a variety of ways, and that is just one of them.
Yes, thank God for that.
Indeed. So we're going to go through the City squad, which we have here. We are not including loan players like Angelino or Jack Harrison. We are looking at the squad as is. And so that's Scott Carson doesn't quite make the cut either.
We all knew he was crucial, John.
Yes, absolutely. It goes without saying that Scott Carson is a crucial player and crucial to City's next 3 to 5 years. So we're going to go through these players one by one. Some players I'm sure will be easy and everyone will be like, yes, absolutely, he's crucial, or yes, absolutely, he's going to be transfer listed. But I imagine there'll be some debate with others, especially regarding age and contract expiration and potentially transfer value. All right, so without further ado, we are going to start with Zach. No, we're going to start with Edison. Goalkeeper, any arguments that he is not crucial to City's next 3 to 5 years?
I think he's he's obviously crucial.
Okay. That got me, Andrew. I thought you were serious for a second.
No. This might be the easiest one we have, so I appreciate you starting with a layup. But I'm just to kind of keep things interesting, I'm going to pose the question to Andrew and Kevin. If for some reason Ederson, maybe puts Pep in like a chokehold and they have to sell him, who would you guys actually look to bring in? And the point I'm trying to make is there's nobody to me who could do what Ederson does. So I feel like everything would be a step down for the way City play right now.
No, the only player that I can think fits in the same category as far as his passing goes from that position is Ter Stegen from Barcelona. So on the off chance that their finances are so messed up that they need to sell Ter Stegen, he's the only guy who I would feel comfortable maintaining the level of play, because I view Ederson as an above average shot stopper, but I don't think he's like world class at that in particular. But he is, in my opinion, quite far and above the best passing keeper that's out there right now. So that actually matters more for how City play. So you need to have somebody at that level, and I haven't seen many except for Ter Stegen and probably Neuer, but Neuer's not going to leave, obviously. So
and Neuer's also a decade older, so like
that as well.
On that point, Andrew, Ederson has just turned 27. He is kind of just entering what many goalkeepers consider to be their prime years. So he's kind of still got his youthful agility, but also I was going to say there isn't much evidence to support the fact that he's like kind of lost his exuberance.
Yeah.
He still enjoys charging out at people, but that's a big part of his game. His contract expires in 2025, so there is still a decent amount of time left on that contract for Ederson. I think, was it a 7-year contract when he signed? It must have been. So clearly he is very much central to the project. All right, let's move on to Zach Steffen. We're going to put the graphics up after kind of each positional category as to where these players are going to fit, so that we can kind of keep track of where we are with that. So moving on in the squad, we're now looking at Zach Steffen. American goalkeeper, has been, I think, pretty impressive in the little that we've seen of him so far. Has the American market appeal, which is commercially interesting for City. But more than that, certainly seems very comfortable passing it out from the back as well. Where do we think he fits for the next 3 to 5 years at City?
I don't want to go first.
I can go first. I waffle between squad and transfer, because I think it is less a matter of would City sell him, and I think they would at the right price. And I don't think it's that high of a price to where I think it's unlikely that someone would come in. I think it's more, are there other players that can push Ederson? Because it seems like Steffen has done a better job of that than Bravo and Carson were doing last season. And so while I think...
And Kyle Walker,
of course.
Of course.
While I think that Steffen does that job really well, if you said 3 years, I could see that, but I think that Steffen himself is going to want to leave and be a number one somewhere sometime before like the next 3 years is up. So if we're saying 3 to 5, I think it's transfer.
Interesting point.
I'm glad he went first, because I feel like, as always, Andrew said kind of what I was thinking in a more eloquent fashion. I'm going to say transfer, just because I think, to all the things Andrew just said, like, if he's not gone this summer, he's gone the following summer. I think I'm a little bit lower on his passing than you are, John, but it's like fine enough for a backup. I think he's good at that kind of ping pass to the left back. That seems to be his bread and butter. But I always viewed the Steffen purchase back from Columbus a couple seasons ago as a asset buy, who I don't think the team ever had any idea that he was going to challenge for the number one spot. I think they bought him for $7.5 million US, and they said to themselves, he'll be worth more in 3 to 5 years. And he probably will, because he's going to be in the shop window playing these cup games this season and next, potentially. They'll probably get 15 for him, maybe, and they'll move him on. So I don't think he can be anything else but transfer, just based on that alone.
That's fair. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that a lot of what Andrew and Kevin said is accurate. To me, I think he gets another year with City. I just think for his career, he'll want to move on, because Ederson, we talked about his contract. He's not going anywhere. So I don't think anyone was going to come in to be the long-term number 2 for Manchester City, because unless they're like 34 and just content with, making a decent pay and being around a good squad. There's not many players that would really, sit in that role. So yeah, I'd probably put him as squad, because I think he is very important to the squad with the amount of competition City are in and matches they play. He will feature a lot. I think his biggest value is the competition he puts in for Ederson. But yeah, I could see a scenario where, maybe a year or two from now, James Trafford is pushing 20 years old. Maybe he's progressed well with the EDS squad and he takes up the backup spot. So you're not taking a foreign spot on a backup, which I think myself and a lot of others don't like. So I'd put him in squad right now because I think he has a lot of value. But if you said, will he be here in 3 to 5 years? I'd say no.
Well reasoned. So I think based on balance there, we're going to say squad, but with the caveat that certainly if the right offer came in, and this is why we had that squad category, because if the right offer came in, we would probably accept it. I can potentially see him. You mentioned Manuel Neuer earlier, Andrew. I can see him potentially ending up at Bayern Munich. He has Bundesliga experience, and I know that doesn't.
It's ambitious.
It is ambitious, but
I see him capping at like maybe a slightly better version of Tim Howard's career. Like he goes to
Everton are going to need a new keeper soon.
Like I see him going to a squad that he's going to, like, that squad maybe is contending for Champions League or in the Champions League. I just don't think that he's ever going to be the number one for a European giant. I would love to be wrong as a U.S. men's national team fan.
Yes.
Like, absolutely would love to be wrong, but I don't see it.
No, I agree. I view him as a mid-table Premier League team level keeper as his ceiling. Again, I'm with Andrew. Hope I'm wrong. I'm an American.
Leipzig could be an interesting shout, like a team like that in a different league. But yeah, I agree with the guys.
It'll be interesting to see if he takes to England and would like to stay in the Premier League, because there are a couple of clubs out there who could potentially benefit from him. Arsenal potentially. That Leno isn't setting the world alight, and I think there's a lot of Arsenal fans regretting letting go of Martinez in the summer, given how well he's performing for Villa.
We said Chelsea, middle table, John. That's bottom of the table.
Sorry. Yeah. Right. Chelsea,
waiting for that.
Chelsea, they go through goalkeepers like they're disposable, so they'll be ready for a new one in the next couple of years, I'm sure. But I think that he'll certainly have a lot of options, which will only work in City's favour when they're trying, if they're trying to offload him at some point. James Trafford will have to change his name, though, if he's going to be on a City team sheet on a regular basis. We can't have that. Can't have that. So if he's willing to do that, then fine. James Etihad can be on the bench. All right. So after that keepers round, crucial, Ederson and Steffen ends up in squad. All right. So let's move on to the defenders. We're going to kind of move from right through center to left back. So let's start with João Cancelo. And because Jed Egan's not on this particular episode, I think we're probably going to have a more balanced view than we might have otherwise. Had some fantastic performances, especially in City's most recent game against who did we beat this weekend?
Newcastle.
Not really at right back, but we'll overlook that. And he came in as we'll remind everyone who is not a City fan, came in as a part exchange deal for Danilo. So it didn't cost 60 million. It was 30 million plus Danilo, who is clearly not worth 30 million. So City beginning to look like they've got the better end of that deal. He has, I'm just trying to find his details on transfer market. I am not. Oh, there he is. So he is 26 and he is contracted also until June 30th, 2025. Joe, we're going to start with you. Where does João Cancelo fit in the crucial squad transfer?
Yeah, he's crucial to this squad for right now and for the next 5 years. I think that I think we might be at the point where he will play. If City had a competent left back, like any sort of a competent left back, literally anyone who knows how to play left back, he would probably be City's number one right back. But because that's not the case and may never be the case, he's kind of going to be all over the place. But I think that, maybe come next season, he may push out Kyle Walker as the true out and out number one right back, and putting in performances like he did against Newcastle will only help him get there. So yeah, to me, I mean, you talk about that price, John, 30 million is in today's, pre-COVID market, a bargain for a player of his talent. And I think he's someone who clearly is getting better under Pep. I think he's only going to improve more on both sides of the ball and ultimately be one of City's most complete defenders. So he's definitely crucial for me.
Andrew, do you think that he is potentially going to capitalize on City maybe heeding our recommendation and moving to a back three?
I would love for that to be the case, because I would also say he's crucial. I mean, I don't know how you watch a performance like he had against Newcastle and the other moments of brilliance he's had this season, and not say that he is in contention to be player of the season for City at this point. He does things that there's basically only one other player on City's squad can do, which is Kevin De Bruyne, in terms of some of the passes he pulls off. And I think, unlike Kevin at some points, Cancelo will actually just like try to do something and just like see if something works, and not necessarily get frustrated from it. So I'm excited to see what he does. I think that whether he's a right back, I think, is a bit of a question still, in terms of like, is he a right back? Is he a right wing back? Apparently he can play central attacking midfield or some kind of hybrid position as he did this weekend, but he's here to stay for the squad. So
Kevin, any objections?
No, not at all. My initial instinct was to put him in squad, and the more I think about it, he's going to be crucial, and it is really obvious, and I'm almost embarrassed that I initially thought I had him just as like a squad guy, because he's pretty much the best attacking fullback in the Premier League right now. And I think I'm going to bring up, this is kind of a move that I wanted for a while, that Kyle Walker, in my mind, is going to be a full-time center back in 2 seasons. I think his skill set really blends well, and it will translate well to that role. I also think what we saw, especially against Newcastle, Cancelo has a very versatile game going forward, where I can totally see him and Walker sharing the field, whether it be a 4-4-2, where Cancelo's in front of Walker, both on the right side, whether it be in a 3-5-2, like you said, John, where he's a wing back. You can even probably play a little bit of winger. I mean, against Newcastle, he was playing essentially attacking midfielder / winger / fullback / DM. Like, he was all over the place. So I think that
at this point,
yeah, like that versatility, I think, is something that Pep truly values. The question of whether Pep's going to be here or not, I think I'm going to leave for a different time. Yeah, like I think Cancelo, people are still putting too much stock into a slow start with the team, because I think, that kind of sticks in your mind a little bit. But I think in the past 12 months, we've seen him be just one of the best guys on the planet at just making chances from the fullback position. So, and he's only 26 years old. So like, you would imagine his best 2-3 seasons are going to be the next 3. So I would say crucial. I agree with the team. Consensus is nice.
Had I been required to tie break, I would also have said crucial. I think the Portuguese contingent at City is beginning to prove its worth. And I think Reuben Diash coming in has cemented that. One of the things that I saw on Saturday against Newcastle was the way that Bernardo, playing on the same side as Cancelo, seemed to improve our right-sided play when Bernardo did move over there, in terms of the communication and the lack of kind of need to kind of have conversations on the field, which I've kind of seen a bit of in the last few weeks in terms of, no, that's when you need to go. It seems to be a little more natural and perhaps a bit telepathic between those guys. So Cancelo definitely makes it into crucial.
So somewhere in Dublin, Jared Deegan is screaming in disgust at all four of us.
Well, yeah, it's like midnight in Dublin, so if Jer is asleep, which I doubt, because I'm not sure Jer does sleep.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he does.
He did just kind of wake up and just go, something is terribly wrong, and probably not in that accent, but I'm not going to attempt it. So let's move on to Kyle Walker, City's right back of choice since 2017-18. Kev, you mentioned that he's going to move to centre back, and I think that seems natural to me, especially given what he's shown for the England national team in recent tournaments and being able to do that. So he is getting on a bit, though. He is. Where's Kyle Walker gone? This is not. Oh, there we go. He is 30 years old, so still young.
Yes, he is very young.
Very young. The two
30-somethings in 2 months. Very young, yes.
20-somethings are kind of looking a little sheepish. So, is Kyle Walker now a squad player? Is the right offer going to come into him? Where does that land him in the squad versus crucial, Andrew?
I can't imagine the right offer coming in for him at this point. I think it's more of a question of for a 3 to 5 year window. If he's staying only at right back, I think he's a squad player. If Pep or the other managers kind of move him around, or if he ages into being a center back, I think you could make the argument that he's crucial. But for me, he's a knife's edge either way. And I just, my gut says squad, I think, just because he's got a lot of minutes in those legs. He's played a lot of top tier football. And I don't know that he can age gracefully to 5 years from now he's a part of City squad. That would just kind of surprise me.
Okay. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's pretty clearly in the squad category, and I don't think that there's going to be an offer that would justify selling him, because as much as some of his off the field stuff, a la the sex party, would indicate he's not a leader. I think in the locker room, I think he has some leadership qualities, and he seems like a person who will be kind of in the current Fernandinho role in 3 to 5 years, where he's kind of aged out as being a default starter, but he's still there as a good locker room presence. He can fill in at center back, at right back. And I think the challenge with Walker too is his game is so reliant on pace that if his age starts to show, and like you said, John, he's going to be 31 this year, that could be a really quick drop off. But I mean, I don't think City would even consider selling him for less than what they paid for him. And I don't see any team coming anywhere close to that value of him. So I don't think he'll leave, but I don't think he is crucial to the next 3 to 5 years of City, because I think probably by the start of next season, he will no longer be a default starter. And at that rate, you cannot consider that person to be a crucial part of the team, in my opinion.
Yep. Solid logic there. Joe, any disagreements?
Yeah, actually, I think Kyle Walker is crucial for City. I'm maybe not going as much off the 3 to 5 year, which might be cheating a little bit, but I think a perfect scenario, his contract's till 2024, which is when he'd be 34. I'd love to see him just go for free after that. But I think that he can play a very crucial role in the squad until then. I think he's City's most durable player, probably besides Raheem Sterling in terms of fitness. He hasn't shown any signs of losing pace. Granted, it's a very valid point by Kevin, but we've yet to see that. So based on what I've seen, despite all the minutes and all the competitions, he doesn't look like he's dropped off at all. I think he's actually playing his best football in the past year. So for me, I think having Cancelo is maybe clouding our vision on this a little bit. Because if City were in a Champions League final tomorrow, I wouldn't think twice about starting Kyle Walker at right back. And to be honest, I think I'd feel that way next year too, just based on the defensive side of things. So for me, crucial on the field, off the field, but in the locker room, maybe not out of the stadium. So yeah, for me, he's crucial.
All right. I would probably just err on the side of squad if I had to make a tie-breaking decision, but I don't because Andrew and Kevin have already said squad. But I think as to their points, I don't think an offer is going to come into him that is going to be significant enough for City to go, yeah. And that speaks to his value. That speaks to his, even at the age of 30, he'll be 31 next year. He is a central part of this squad. And so if there was a category that did exist between crucial and squad, we'd probably just call it the Kyle Walker category because that's exactly where he seems to fit. I agree with Joe that he's played some of his best football in the last year. Defensively, he seems to have... I'm not sure if it's a concentration thing, whether he's just kind of taking Adderall or something like that.
Yeah, sure. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, but like he's just a lot more focused in his defensive work and just seems to be able to anticipate problems a lot more than he used to. And maybe I'm doing his first few years at City an injustice, but and maybe it's the players around him underperforming that have revealed how good he was all along. But yeah, I think he will end up in squad by virtue of the democracy that we have here on Main Road Ramble. But yeah, I can see arguments for both crucial and squad player there.
Can I just say real quick before we move on from Walker? Yeah. I do agree with you both that he's still my 1A right back, despite all the Cancelo praise. At the same time, I think the fact that as much as Walker has been great this season, I think his attacking play and the fact that he's getting forward so much less, whether that's him or it's Pep being conservative tactically, I think there is something behind that could give pause for concern. I also want to finish this by saying that I love Kyle Walker, and I don't want to be pegged in any incorrect light by me saying he's a squad player.
Yeah. All right. Let's speed things up a little bit and move on to John Stones. Who do I want to get to really speak in depth about John Stones? I'm going to go back to Joe.
Really didn't want to go first here. Yeah, no, put the pressure on me. I'll take it.
Okay, Joe, what are you saying?
Man, there's so many things with John. He's probably going to be the most debated player we have. I think.
Really? Right? I'm not sure.
I think you will be, actually.
Yeah, I think he will be. So he's clearly not in the transfer side. I don't think for any of us, definitely not for me. I'm trying really hard to not overreact to 2 months of incredibly high-level football from John Stones. And it's one of those, like, if the right offer came in, I think I'd say no because of his homegrown status. But if not, I'd probably consider it. So that's where there's like so many components that are kind of pulling me back and forth. Because you said we can have 11 crucial players, I did my math earlier and I can afford to put him in the crucial status. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to caveat it by saying it's mainly because of his age, his desire to be captain, and the potential for there to be a new captain in the next couple of years. And ultimately the fact that he probably knows Pep's defense more than anybody else as far as central defense. So I think he might almost fall into the Kyle Walker category, but I'll put him at crucial for sake of conversation.
I'm glad that you said that, Joe. I'm glad that you mentioned the captaincy piece as well, because I think it speaks to a real problem area that City are going to encounter when Fernandinho is either playing less than he is right now and so can't be on field captain very often, or leaves altogether. And we need a captain that at the moment, by right of succession, is going to fall to Kevin De Bruyne, who seems to be struggling with that burden. John Stones, for me, is, when he joined City, I was like, this guy is a future City captain. He's a future England captain. He has all the qualities. And I would not have believed that I would have been saying this 2 months ago. But I think he's shown us that he can still do that. I think he can still be City captain. So I'd put him as crucial. And I just wanted to kind of insert that completely illegally before Andrew and Kevin got to speak.
They could have been You're trying this thing.
Okay, Andrew, what are you going to say?
Well, John, you don't have to insert yourself illegally, because I too basically feel the exact same way about John Stones. If I had to, I'd go grab his kit from the closet behind me, but he is crucial in multiple different ways to City, and he will continue to be so.
Kevin?
I'll be brief. He is squad for me. He's been great this season. I've been very impressed by him. I still view Laporte and Diash as the 1-2 going forward in my mind. I know that Laporte has had his struggles, but like, I can see a team seeing these past 2 months and getting a crazy offer in their mind. And
what is that offer though, Kevin? Like,
I don't know
what number has to come across to accept it, because I said the same thing in my head, but then I'm like, one, what's the offer going to be? And two, how are City going to turn it around for another player that could do what John Stones does?
Right. Valid point. I'm just saying, like, there is value in selling high, especially when we know how low the floor can be with Stones. Like, I get the fact that he's only 26 as a center back, so like his best years are probably ahead of him. I'm just saying, like, I don't think whatever that number may be, and I don't want to say right now, but like, I think 80. I don't know. I think a team may go there. Like, somebody paid $80 million for Harry Maguire.
So, I think that's all the more reason they need to get this extension done.
Right. I can envision a future where Chelsea drops a bag of cash and says, we want John Stones, name the price.
When you say someone, Ed Woodward dropped £80 million.
Yeah, well, he's a person in this world, yes.
I also think, John, just before we move on, the thing with Stones and talking about a potential sale is that you have to remember there's not many English central defenders that play outside of the Premier League, and there's not many teams in the Premier League that could afford John Stones. And I am not in any position to say City should sell to a rival. So I think that's probably the biggest reason I'd stick to my crucial side. But I certainly see where you're coming from, Kevin.
I mean, I don't want this to happen. Like, I think there's value having 3 good center backs. I'm just saying, like, I think the price is reasonably out there. That could make it worth it with this history.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's necessarily entirely fair, though, Kevin, in terms of when you said we know Stones' flaw, in his performance. I don't think we've necessarily seen enough of that at City to say, yes, that's a level that he'll stoop to on a regular basis. I think based on what we've heard in recent weeks about stuff that was going on in his personal life that we don't know the details of, but when you add that to the fact that he just had that terrible time with injuries, like those kind of two things together made it very, very, very difficult for him to come in and perform at a high level in a team that was at the time performing at a ridiculously high level, or at least required to as well. So,
right. My point is just that, like, 2 months ago, he would have been easily in the transfer category for probably everybody on this podcast, except for Andrew. He's making a face at me right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think so, because not for me, because we were talking about him. Joe highlighted something on our Slack channel the other day about playing him against Lyon in the Champions League last season.
But I said that. I was the one who said that. But then again, I also was the person who would have rather extended Garcia and sold Stones. So take that with a grain of salt.
Right, yeah. So
Kevin was the person who responded, "Dear Lord." So
I did say, yeah, because back then that was a hot take.
It was.
That was a hot take.
He wasn't playing.
He wasn't playing at all. So, like, I'm just saying, I just can't imagine he goes from somebody who I would have said transfer now to he's crucial to the next 3 to 5 years in 2 months.
That's fair. You know who probably is crucial, John?
Who?
The next couple players we're going to cover.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, Reuben Diash is next up on our list of defenders. So I think we can say, someone who has just signed for City and has been part of a transformation in the amount of goals that we conceded. Overwhelming, yes. Crucial,
yes,
no doubt about it.
And to be honest, he'd be my top pick to be City's next captain if you think De Bruyne is going to have it for the next 3 or 4 years. Like he is Vincent Kompany 2.0 at this point in terms of leadership.
There's an article about him. Shameless plug. Go read it.
mainroadramble.com.
Yeah.
Why are we kind of saying that under our breath? This is our podcast, guys.
I don't know. Why are we doing it?
We're not running onto a field with a banner. This is our platform. We can say whatever we want whenever we want to say it. All right. I would disagree with you about Laporte potentially, although I was thinking during the John Stones conversation about that 3 at the back, and being like, okay, then Laporte does become crucial. But I'm interested, Andrew, to hear what you have to say about Aymeric Laporte.
I think that unlike Joe and Kevin, I maybe am slightly more skeptical of Laporte in line with you, but I don't think that I'm all the way there. I think he still would be crucial because I think that the way this squad is set up currently, and I think maybe the next tactical evolution that Pep could go with, and we saw it a little bit when Mendy first came in, and we've seen it other times, is a 3 at the back and then some kind of 3-5-2, 3-4-3 combo. And I also think just that this squad, if it has 3 center backs like Stones, Diash, and Laporte, that is a lot of depth in a position that is incredibly important and incredibly difficult to play in Pep's system. And so I think when you have 3 center backs that all can play that well, they can all play together and they all have slightly different skill sets. That's all you need. We don't have to worry about center back for the next 8 years.
Yeah. Okay. Joe?
He is City's, when he's at his peak, he is City's far and away best defender. And I think he perfectly blends what John Stones and Diash bring to the pitch. I think he's everything Pep wanted in a center back. Obviously, there's been some injury and potentially some off the field issues that maybe we look back on this in a year time and I'm saying, he's got to move on. But as far as the player himself, if we're talking about what they bring at the peak of their powers, to me, he's the definition of crucial.
Kevin?
Yep. Same. I think in the same way that I'm not going to change my opinion of Stones because of the past 2 months, that holds true for Laporte as well, in the sense that I get the fact that he's not playing and there's some problems behind the scenes, but he's still one of the top 10 center backs in the world, in my opinion. And I think he even is, more crucial than Diash still in my mind, just because Laporte is an incredible passer and Diash, we haven't seen that yet. I mean, his defense is next level, but Laporte has both aspects of his game. So I think if you have those guys paired for the next 3 to 5 years, like Joe was saying, your defense is just good to go.
The only thing I would add into that is that I would equate Diash and Laporte in terms of their ability right now, purely based on the nature of Laporte's injury that he has in his history.
That's fair.
And so I think Diash has increased agility without every time Laporte goes in for a tackle, I still wince. Just because of that injury that he has. And I hate that I do that, but it's
fair. Yeah, that was me with Gundogan for the first 2.5 seasons. So
yeah. He just doesn't really tackle anymore though, so that's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So we've covered all the centre backs except Nathan Ake, who I think is the definition of squad player.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. All right. Nathan Ake, we love you. You can fill in at centre half. You can fill in at left back. You can probably even do a job at defensive midfield. We haven't had a chance to see you there yet, but
he's the
very
player
impressed.
I wish they had, honestly.
Yeah. And he's kind of like an upgrade on Fabian Delph. basically.
Huge upgrade. No offense, Delphi, but
and an actual defender.
That's Fabian Delph Centurion you're saying there, Joe, though.
Yeah.
Hey, he did a job.
Yeah. Although, on that same logic, we're now talking about Benjamin Mendy Centurion.
Transfer.
He's out.
Okay, Kevin and Andrew say Benjamin Mendy is out. Joe.
He's a shell. He's a shell of himself. It's too late. He's gone.
Joe, Mendy stan for so long.
There is a tear working in this eye, I swear to God.
He's gonna say it.
Okay, I will say transfer because it's the right answer. But I will say there's no way that they transfer Benjamin Mendy because he makes a lot of money and he's worth very little. We're at a point where it's just, okay, let's go maybe for once by a left back and Mendy will just kind of be there. I think it's going to come to the point where unless he does a John Stones 2.0 and just completely realizes his potential, see the video thing, I'm becoming very Italian with my hands. I just think that the injuries have been too much. We talk about Laporte, we talk about Stones, Gundogan, for that matter, players who have had injuries and ultimately gotten over. I think for the way Mendy plays, it's just something he's not going to be able to get over. If he were in a side that maybe was a little bit less exposed on the counter, maybe he could do a job, but assuming an offer came in, I'd be hard pressed to say no.
The one good thing, at least about Mendy, is his contract is up in 2022. So maybe City can mutually agree to terminate the contract, or find something. I really like him as a human. He seems like a good guy, and it's unfortunate what happened to his career, but I think he'll find his best football elsewhere. And so I think City is in a weird position because of him being on the roster, and he's in an unfortunate position, and just better for everyone if he's moved.
He should be in a 3-5-2 in Italy, specifically,
or at PSG. I think he could. I think he could be. If PSG were to come and say, "Hey, we'll give you 15 million for him,"
I don't think he's even good enough for him. And Hakimi for Inter would be really cool, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say there are so few good left backs in the world that the scarcity at that position may make his value
going to change
a little higher than it should be. But I mean, they can improve. They can consolidate some players and get a better left back in there.
I think the only potential reasoning for saying squad is because we'll probably talk about Zinchenko next. And, if you think he's going to move on, I just don't see a scenario where City bring in two left backs.
It's a good transition, John.
For a bit. So that would be my only kind of, potential reasoning for keeping Mendy in squad, but we'll probably say transfer.
Yep. And as Joe very neatly transferred us into, we're going to talk about Alexander Zinchenko next. Andrew wants to talk about things.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm waving goodbye to Zinchenko because he's also on the transfer list. Love the kid. Seems like a fun guy. Clearly a pretty talented footballer, but he's not a left back. He's not a defensive mid. I don't know what he is, and I don't think he's ever going to find out what he is at City. And so I think for him and for us, the best option is to send him to a club that can use him.
So Andrew is transfer. Kevin?
I agree. I don't need to add much. It just seems like he's one of the most clear candidates to leave. He's the best example of City's habit of buying these young players for less than 10 million as asset buys with the intention of, was it 1 million?
Yeah.
1 million.
So, and then you either loan them out for 3 or 4 seasons, or you see if they're good enough to fit on the roster. He was good enough for a bit, and he has talent. I think he has a role on a good team, just not this good of a team. So I think you can probably pull 15. And this is what I'm saying. If you consolidate Mendy and Zinchenko, if you get modest prices for both of them, then you could put those assets towards a full-time.
Gaia.
Jose Gaya, someone like that, like a competent left back who you can rely upon instead of just like this cobbled together mishmash of pieces. And to your point, I don't know if I mentioned this before about Mendy not leaving. I think that I can see a future where they sell Zinchenko and Mendy, and next season you have a rotation at left back of Ake, Cancelo, and one new guy.
Yeah, I think Ake is certainly a person that you really need to factor into this, because on the one hand, it's like you're losing, and Angelino's gone already because of the amount of games he'll have played for Leipzig. Mendy and Zinchenko, it's like there's no left backs, but then you do have Mr. Squad player Nathan Ake. Joe, any objections to Zinchenko?
No, I think he's probably, of the players we'll talk about on this podcast, the most likely to move in January, if anything. It just feels like, we might talk about Mendy or some other players that could move on. It just feels like there's no need for him right now. And that might sound harsh, but like I think Mendy would serve more of a role if he's playing and they can't move him on. But if Zinchenko left, like you said, we have Cancelo, we have Ake, we have Mendy. I wouldn't lose sleep over it in terms of feeling like City were left thin. And to me, sell while he has any value left in terms of what he will do at City. So
his starts feel like handouts to me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So there we have it. After the defensive round, for want of a better phrase, we have four of those defenders ending up in the crucial category. That's Cancelo, Stones, Diaz, and Laporte. Walker and Ake make it into the squad category, and then both left backs, Benjamin Mendy, Alex Zinchenko, ending up in the transfer. All right, let's move on to midfielders. So we will begin with defensive midfielders and kind of, again, work our way forward, maybe with the exception of Gundogan, who is right at the end there. So Fernandinho, squad?
Yeah.
I think the only question is, does he get an extension? It sounds like he won't, but I think he should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's at most squad. Like, he's not.
You're not going to transfer him because he's going to leave. Yeah. So that,
he's almost not even in a category, really, because he's not going to have.
Put his name down just because he was so beyond categorization. We had to restart this whole thing because I forgot to put Fernandinho in my first graphic. We had to restart it twice because I forgot to record both times as well. All right. We're getting used to this technology. I'm used to working live. Just give me a break.
I think the real question, honestly, is though, would you give him an extension? I feel like we're all in agreement. We're not.
I would give an extension.
I wouldn't.
Why?
Because I think that I would give an extension if it's like a Mikel Arteta or I'm blanking on the United guy, but like player manager kind of like. If it's to transition him into a coaching role,
Giggs?
Fine. Not Giggs. I can't think of who the
Michael Carrick.
Michael Carrick. Like if the idea is to keep his experience around and like maybe you use him, but I think that is a squad spot being taken up by someone who you cannot count on at this point in their career for enough games to make it worth it.
All right, I've removed Andrew from that conversation.
Nice.
Andrew, a few months ago, I probably would have agreed with that because that's how I felt going into the season. And I think the biggest point you're making there that I'd agree with is he has a foreign spot in this squad, and City obviously use all of those. So for that reason, I'd probably not give him an extension. But then I look at he's slotted in next to Rodri, he's slotted in next to Gundogan. He looks very good. But I think he's at a point now where he's probably more attacking than defensive. Like when he plays next to Rodri's the defensive midfielder, and Fernandinho kind of operates that Gundogan role that he's doing now, which is really more of an 8. I think if they somehow couldn't get their hands on a Zakaria, there's no reason not to get Fernandinho a 1-year extension. But if you believe the reports, it sounds like he's moving on.
I just want to see the downside of an extension. I mean, yes,
I think it's just because
spot. Yeah.
If you're going to bring in a midfielder, you have to offload someone, and it clearly would be Fernandinho.
Right, but if you're going to offload somebody, I think Fernandinho showed he still has some something in the tank, and I think he still is the best progressive passer from defensive midfield. And I think if you're going to offload somebody, you should offload somebody you can get money for.
It's fair.
Doesn't matter, Andrew. You were outvoted. Fernandinho is a squad player.
I didn't say I wanted to transfer list him. I'm just saying that I wouldn't give him an extension.
He's like the Kyle Walker, but just the other side. He's like somewhere between like
Yeah.
Fernandinho category.
I would never transfer him. I would never do anything that involves us taking in money for him to leave. That would be foolish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he could find out where we live as well, and I don't want to do that with Fernandinho because like I don't want to upset him. Like, not that he'd like come and hurt us. He'd just like turn up at our house looking sad.
Yeah.
And it's like I couldn't do that to him.
He's got a great smile too. So
yeah, exactly. I don't who would want to take that smile off his face. All right. Moving on to Rodrigo, or Rodri, depending on I don't know what we call him anymore. But Rodri, okay. Crucial?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, right. Kevin, get out of here.
No, I'm
drop him.
Drop me, fine. I don't care. I'm not doing
Kevin has been transfer listed, ladies and gentlemen.
Nah.
Let's just hear Kevin's thoughts then on why he's a squad player.
I think he's been good, but I haven't seen enough where I'm like, he is definitively the player we need in that position. I think he lacks ambition as a passer occasionally. I think he can be slow to stop counterattacks. I think he's a little bit lumbering at times. I think Pep will make him a center back eventually. And I think with the importance of that position and the fact that they've been playing a double pivot, I do think that there is something to be said about how Pep feels about him as a defensive midfielder, that he thinks he needs to put someone next to him.
Well, you can't have him as a squad player then on that basis. You cannot have like a 24-year-old former starter as a squad player.
Well, the squad player we're saying is not in the true sense of like if he's on the team, he's probably going to start. But I'm saying like if the right offer came in,
he's the first name on Pep's team sheet. Like he's clearly crucial.
I see Kevin's point.
This is Kevin's opinion, though. This is Kevin's opinion, not Pep's opinion.
The thing is, I don't disagree with any of your points, Kevin. Mainly because I've voiced them myself on the Twitter sphere. But I just think that he's a player who is only going to improve. He's still what did we say, 24? I mean, that's
24.
The way he plays, theoretically, he should play for another 6-7 years for City. I just don't see a scenario where, one, an offer comes in. Two, it's such a tough position for City. And you'd have to be starting to me, there's no other player in world football who could just slot into this position because of the way City play being so unique. I think like a Kimmich, like there's talented players out there, but no one's going to adapt right away. So you're basically saying, all right, we're hitting the reset button. And we're probably going to need like a year and a half to 2 years to really get someone acclimated. So to me, you just can't get
Young doesn't have the height, but could potentially do that job in terms of the metronomic quality that he has. But I would say, Kevin, if you're saying that he's not crucial, then he needs to be transfer, because he's not going to improve as a squad player. He's one of these players that he's only going to improve and become more valuable to the team as a starter, because of the nature of his position. So
when I say a squad player, I'm using the framework of this conversation. And I'm saying like he's going to be like a rotation player.
What I think John's point is that either like with the position that he plays and what City needs from it, if he is not a crucial player, we need to transfer list him and get someone else who's in, because at the money we paid for him and everything else, like if he can't do that job, then that's it.
And that is a very valid point, and you're probably right, but I will choose to straddle the fence.
Classic Kevin. All right.
Oh, come on.
But anyway, as Andrew was with Fernandinho, Kevin, you are overruled by the majority, and Rodri remains a crucial player for City. All right. Looking next at Kevin De Bruyne.
Next. Moving on.
Next.
Don't talk about him.
Crucial. Okay. Bernardo Silva, a year and a half ago, would have probably been in that crucial category. 6 months ago, possibly would have been in transfer. Where are we at now?
Squad.
I think
he's the definition of if the right offer came in.
Yep.
Right.
Like I don't want him to be sold, and Lord knows Jared doesn't want him to be sold. I just think that there's certainly value in the conversation of like, was he just not as good? Like, was 18-19 just kind of an anomaly? Maybe. Right. Like, he very well could be. And I think the other thing that would probably concern me a little is the argument that, he can't be at his best if De Bruyne is on the pitch, and 9 times out of 10, De Bruyne is on the pitch. So I think it would take 85+ million. And I don't think anyone would spend that on Bernardo right now, just based on what they've seen. So I'll keep him in the squad, and I think he's a damn good squad player, but just not crucial for me.
So I think with Bernardo, the tough thing with him is in 18-19, that team was so good, it was impossible not to look great. Like, and I think this season we're seeing almost
Zinchenko looked great at left back.
Exactly. Like that team was so good. Like it was literally every person.
But wouldn't you argue he was like the focal point of that?
I would argue that he was the best player in the best game that City played that season, which was the 2-1 win against Liverpool. He was like 7 men on his own.
Right. And I'm saying that, but I'm saying this season, if he's still that player, then you would think that he would be raising the team's level more than he has.
I think they're playing him in the wrong position too often.
I will agree with John, because I do think Newcastle showed us that he's a midfielder. He was much better when he got moved inside.
I think he's.
I would disagree, but
I think he's better on the right.
I thought he was better than midfielder.
I think that's the problem. His best season was at right wing. So like, how can we all nod our heads and say, yeah, he's best in midfield? Yeah, I would agree. It sounds like that should be the case.
Yeah, I don't.
Wait, where do you? It's split 50-50 that he's best in midfield or he's best.
My issue with Bernardo is I feel like sometimes he is a player for a moment, like he really rises to the occasion. But I think if he's not in a position to do that, I don't know that he gives us anything besides that work rate, and that work rate is phenomenal. And it's great, and he seems like a genuinely good dude. But it almost feels like if things around him are not going well, he doesn't bring other people up. He kind of drops down.
A crucial player should be able to be a game changer 8 times out of 10, and he's not for me.
I mean, I think Bernardo he's a world-class ball carrier, but when he's a winger, he doesn't dribble that much at guys in the same way that Sterling does. I mean, maybe that's me.
18-19, he definitely did. I just don't think we're seeing that anymore.
But I think his ball carrying is actually more valuable in the midfield, where he can pick it up, beat a man kind of a little bit deeper, and then make that kind of pass that unlocks the defense. And the question is he an engine or is he a cog? We haven't seen what the answer to that question is. 2 years ago, you could argue he was an engine, but right now, I don't know if that's the case anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's definitely going to end up in squad based on our conversation. So that's fine. Bernardo Silva ends up in squad. Moving down, with the next two, especially Ferran Torres, I don't know really why I put him in midfield, but there we go. Phil Foden.
Crucial.
Both of them.
Easy.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, so Ferran Torres as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Easy. Ilkay Gundogan.
Transfer.
King of the squad. King of the squad. You're not getting money for him. You're not getting money for him, and you're not bringing in a player who's as good or better.
You get money for him.
No. I'm saying you're not getting the money for him that leads to being able to replace what he brings to the squad.
I think his game could play for 7 more years. What does he do that can't? He doesn't go in for tackles.
I have heard the both of you complain about his legs.
I have.
So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
a crazy person.
My point, Kevin, is that if you talk about how will he age, whether it be in the Premier League or another league, he's not putting himself into tackles that he used to, which is probably why he's healthier than he's ever been. He doesn't really rely on pace. I think he could play at the top level in the Premier League for another 2-3 years, and then at the top level in Serie A for another 2-3 years, where it's a slower league. if it would take the right team, like I don't think there's a lot of teams that would necessarily come calling, but Real Madrid have a very old midfield right now. Maybe they don't come calling for a good one, but something like that where I think his value is.
His contract is up in 2023. Like, to me, he's clearly a squad player. He's going to
Yeah.
out his contract with us. But I don't think you can get enough money for him that you replace him in the squad, which is my point.
I'd straight swap him for Zachariah.
Which would be a transfer, which would be on my side.
It would be. No, it would be. But he's saying, like, I don't think you get enough money. Like, I think, yeah, you probably wouldn't get a ton of money, but
I could see that move potentially happening, but I think it would still involve money.
I mean, when I say transfer, like, it doesn't mean like you have to sell him. I'm just saying like you look to make that move.
You just lump them in with Mendy and Zinchenko, though. You have to realize
there's only three categories. There's only 3 categories, man. I don't.
But that,
I knew this was controversial.
but the point is, look at all the players we put into squad. Like squad, it's not like squad's controversial. Squad just means you serve a purpose. You might not start every match, even though he is. Like, transfer means you want him to be sold.
Yeah.
Like, you see his
fine.
Like,
I accept that.
That's fine if you feel that way. I just couldn't disagree more.
Yeah. I just think he's going to be 31 next year. Like, I'd rather sell him a year early. Like, he has value now. Whenever the decline happens, he will not anymore.
He has the same value because of COVID. He has the same value now as he does next year when there's some kind of financial recovery. So,
I'm not even using COVID in this, by the way. Like, I know that kind of muddies the waters. I'm just saying, like,
too much of a wrinkle. Yeah,
it's just like I think this is
I'm
what
very
kind of
surprised by this, for the record, Kevin.
Yeah. I love anyone. I'm just saying, like, you need to be ruthless sometimes with the shit, and I think Barcelona are a good example of, like, in the same way that I was saying earlier that the 18-19 team was so good that it was impossible not to look good. I think sometimes the City team can be that, and it can mask some flaws. And as much as I think Gundogan is still a very good player right now, you guys had mentioned his legs don't seem like they're always there. And whatever the reason is, like, I do think he can have a very sneaky decline quickly. And I would rather sell him now and replace him with somebody who is a few years younger. And I mean, maybe this is me just being like, thinking these guys are assets, and I have a bad habit of doing that. Like, that's on me. But
the American in you.
Guilty as charged.
I think
as full screen there, just so that the rest of us weren't tarnished with that brush.
I think, in fairness to Kevin, though, just to wrap up Gundogan, to me, if City have aspirations to bring in Dennis Zakaria from Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Fernandinho leaves on a free, to me that won't work. Like, I don't think you can have a midfield that has Gundogan, Rodri, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Foden, Zakaria. Like, there's too many high-level players. Like, I almost see a scenario where you have to move on someone, Gundogan, Bernardo, someone in midfield to make room for Zakaria to get the minutes that he needs, or whoever it may be, Aouar, whoever.
To me, that feels like, well, that's why he's a squad player, and it's all about.
We are not talking about Houssam Aouar.
Yeah,
I don't know who that is.
No, but my point is, I think he falls in squad then, because you just clearly, like, if the right offer came in and we were able to bring in the right player, you move.
Yeah, I'm not putting him in transfer.
I agree with you, but I think that if I would agree with Kevin a year from now, I just think it's a year too early to be that cutthroat with him.
Right, but if we're using the 3 to 5 year framework,
I think he could be a good squad player in 3 years. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the 3 to 5 year is kind of like that really only applies to crucial in some respects, because the
squad players might not last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 5 years, put him out a decade at City. Like, I don't see that happening. I just think that he serves a very good purpose in this team.
All right.
And I will say, like, so I say that as, and sorry to keep going on, but like,
yeah, you're rambling, Kev.
That's what I do. City not being a selling squad, if you want to say like they don't need the money from the transfer, then that's fine. Then in that case, he's a squad. But like, if you want to extract any value from him to reinvest in the team, now is the time.
Mm-hmm. We would just be called Main Road if it wasn't for Kevin.
It's true. I'm not going to deny that.
After our midfield round, we have 4 more players in the crucial column: Rodrigo, De Bruyne, Foden, and Torres. 3 midfielders in the squad column: Fernandinho, Ilkay Gundogan, and Bernardo Silva. Just occurred to me that we didn't discuss Eric Garcia in the. Yeah, exactly. In the dead to Joe, absolutely dead to him. In the defenders, and that's simply because it seems nailed on that he's on his way to Barcelona. So to talk about him would just waste valuable time, which we are fast running out of.
John, can you just, for the sake of previewing this next section, can you just pull open the squad again that shows all the players? So there's 4 players in there, and we only have room for 2 crucial spots, just to set the suspense, because I just feel like forwards have, like, there's just so much drama around them in general. So I'm very intrigued to see how this plays.
This doesn't feel like an issue for me at all. But
yeah, interestingly for me, I'm making these graphics kind of on the fly, and I had it kind of pre-set up in terms of where I thought things would go, and I've only had to move a couple of players, and none of these forwards ended up in my crucial column. So we are going to start then with Riyad Mahrez.
Squad.
Transfer.
Whoa.
Kevin?
Guys, listen to what I said about Gundogan. Yeah. It's the same exact philosophy.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Listen,
yeah,
I will defend Riyad Mahrez. Listen, Riyad Mahrez is still to this day one of the best creative players in the world. That is a fact. I don't care what anybody on this podcast says. Okay, I'm also saying he's going to be 30.
Said this so many times.
He's going to be 30 next season or very soon, and he's playing in a very up-tempo like system that requires you to be constantly moving. In the same vein as Gundogan, like, this is the time to move him, especially if you view the future of the attack to be Sterling, Torres, and Foden, Jesus, whoever. Now's the time, because PSG right now would probably give you 60 million for him.
That's
the only team I agree.
Right, like
Di Maria is struggling for PSG. He feels like it's just okay. Take one player out, put new player in.
Right. Like, I love Mahrez. I've defended him to no end for our Slack channel. I'm just saying, like, this again, Gundogan, this is the time to sell him. If you're going to sell him, you do it now.
Agreed. And there's also the small matter of potentially Lionel Messi joining the squad, and like someone, if not multiple people, have to make way, and he tops my list for the forward line.
I don't think he's going to come, Joe.
I don't think he's going to come either, but Mahrez.
You're right.
I don't either, but it's a possibility. So
Joe, just to be clear, you also think transfer?
Yes.
Okay, Andrew?
I was leaning squad initially, but like Kevin's logic, like I think more so than with Gundogan, I agree that you can actually get real value from Mahrez if you move him on now. And I think that there is potential to bring in similar, if not better, potential in that same position, leaving aside Messi. Like, I don't think you should consider that at all. But like, if you get 60 million for Mahrez from PSG, like, that is incredible value.
Making your money back.
That's how you sustain this roster. You have to turn it over. And I think, like, I actually would view Mahrez higher in the next 2 to 3 seasons than Gundogan. So, like, I'm actually surprised that, well, actually, no, you too. I'm not surprised. But, like, I was more certain to put Gundogan in this category than Mahrez. And I was actually pretty certain on both of them. Because I think just, like, if you're going to bring in 2 big names, which it seems like is the plan at the very least, then, like, you got to have to get rid of 2 big names. And, like, Foden's going to be playing more minutes going forward. It just seems like this is the nature of roster turnover.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mahrez is in the transfer category, not because of his flaws, but because he can command some value in the transfer market for a player who is potentially more suited to City's needs at this time. Hopefully hanging on by the skin of our teeth to some of our Algerian audience there.
Is not listening.
Yeah. Or watching. So let's move on to Gabriel Jesus.
Squad,
Andrew. Joe. Oh, okay. This is okay. You 2 guys have talked, and I know that you've mentioned your things, and you said your votes. Kevin, I know has talked a lot, but you potentially have the commanding vote, because if you now say transfer, Kevin, then I get to make the decision. So I'm interested in what you're going to say.
He's not dumb enough to say transfer.
I'm not going to say transfer. I know that.
Sorry, John. We can take your thoughts. This is a podcast.
Squad. Just because I think he still has an incredibly high ceiling, but he's got to be better at scoring goals, which is his primary job.
Can I caveat my crucial by saying he's 23 years old and I value him as a crucial left winger for Manchester City? I don't value him as a crucial forward. I don't. I'd sell him. I'd sell him for 80 million or more as a forward. But if City can figure out that he's a left winger, he is by all means crucial.
I don't disagree with you, Joe. I don't know that is his future. It's just I think that he's started and stopped his career so much with City a little bit, and he's just had weird things happen to where you can't put him in crucial for me yet. I think you could easily could. I just don't think he's there.
Okay, so Gabriel Jesus, squad category. He was also in my squad category as well. Sergio Aguero.
This is like the Fernandinho thing. Like, he's not going to be here 3 to 5 years, so you can't put him in crucial. You're not going to transfer him because his contract's up.
He's squad.
But the thing
he's going to finish out his contract with City, and then he's either going to go play in Argentina, somewhere else, unless we get Messi, and then he maybe stays for one more year. But I
think he's crucial.
Or
City,
yeah,
I would say crucial still. I would say crucial.
Like, because we're not saying he's going to play 3 to 5 years, but like he is. We are seeing it this season. He is crucial to the squad.
Yeah.
And to this day, I don't care if he's playing 20 minutes from now. He is still crucial.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I can't put Sergio Aguero in anything but a crucial category.
Well, on that basis, I would say then he is like entirely existing between squad and crucial.
Yeah.
In the way that we have defined them. So,
let's just put him in crucial. We have the space.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
He will be crucial for as long as he's on this team.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last slot here, isn't it?
No.
Crucial. Oh, we have.
Well, no, because we put Jesus in squad.
Right. Never mind.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see if Raheem Sterling, who is our last player that we're going to look at today, will end up in crucial or if he will end up elsewhere. I think it's fair to say, as with someone like Mahrez, as with someone like, the way that we talked about Gundogan a little bit as well. Not Gundogan. Who was it that we were talking about? Bernardo. It might be quite difficult to put Raheem Sterling in squad.
He's crucial for me.
Crucial for Kev.
He's squad for me because there is an amount of money I would sell him for. And I cannot say that about really anyone else in that crucial line.
And because there's no player in the City squad who would get a bigger fee. Feel like he should be like 35 now, and he's still 25. He's English. He still hasn't seen his prime. He's 26, just turned. But I think the thing with Sterling is like how much better can he get? I think we saw a huge surge under Pep, and to the point where I truly thought he would be a top 3 winger in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I love Raheem Sterling. Like I wouldn't say City should sell him, but for the sake of argument, I think there's a number I'd probably accept. It would probably have to be over 120 million. Like, it would have to be a substantial sum for on the field purposes. He's also the biggest marketing piece they have, which, may not matter to us fans, but I'm sure it does to the board. And I just don't, a player of his caliber on the market is expensive, and it's really easy to swing and miss, a la Real Madrid and Hazard. So it's really hard to not say crucial. but I think there's definitely a number I could sleep at night if it came in.
If you told me he didn't improve at all, and this was just who he was, I'd still say crucial.
It's fair. When you say didn't improve, you're not talking about like the rut that he's in now. You just mean like the best he's been at City.
Yeah, like if he's just this guy, and I know he has his ups and his downs, so that's just the way he is. But like if he's just this guy, I just think he is already one of like right now the top 10 most valuable players in the world.
Yeah. Which is why it'd have to be a big ass offer.
Well, yeah, I mean the caveat is for me, like there's a price for literally anything. If someone was like, "We'll give you $1 billion," for
me,
Bruyne,
I just never have felt like Raheem Sterling is Mr. Manchester in the way that would nudge him into crucial for me. Like I've never believed that Raheem Sterling is going to spend his entire career in Manchester City.
That's a good point.
Because he already didn't.
Andrew, you sound like you're kind of heading more towards transfer.
No, I don't want to sell him. It's just, to me, he's squad. Like, he's a great player. He has a lot of value, but like there's definitely an offer where I accept it. And that's not the case of a lot of other players.
I would sell him. And the
Meaning
reason
you put him in transfer?
I would put him in transfer because, like I said at the start, I don't think I can put him in squad. Because if he's not crucial to what City are going to be trying to do for the next 3 to 5 years, then to have someone with his value sitting on the bench, or not sitting on the bench, but like kind of being a rotation and competing for a place, more importantly, with Torres, with Foden, and presumably the striker that City are going to bring in, I don't think that I think he has reached his peak. I think that's something that we're kind of all agreed on, that it's difficult to see how he improves from here.
No, see that I don't necessarily agree with that, John. I do think he can get better. I just think he's such a like he's on these peaks and these like he's so up and down. I think the big thing with Sterling, if we're going to talk about like where to place him, if City come to him this summer 2021, offer him a contract extension and he doesn't extend, I'd sell him immediately because his contract runs till 2023. And to me, once you enter the final 2 years, your value just like something about 2 years and less, to me, your value just plummets.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's always been these links and like even him openly saying it on the cover of a magazine that he has interest in playing in somewhere else, potentially Real Madrid. I don't think they have any money, so it might not matter. But yeah, if the right offer came in, doesn't extend his contract, I can certainly see from a business perspective, it'd almost be foolish not to.
And I think that's kind of what it comes down to for me with Raheem specifically. Andrew mentioned his commercial value to City, and I'm in no way taking away from what he has achieved and what he has done for the club. But there have been moments where it's been like I can think of 3 moments in particular that that City's recent history would have looked different in different ways had we had a more clinical player than Raheem in the positions that Raheem has gotten into. And Raheem is all about positioning as well. I understand that. But the miss against Lyon is the one that really stands out. If that's Jesus, if that's anyone else, and I don't think that that's necessarily
Jesus is not the guy you want to put in for the finishing category.
But I think Jesus finishes that.
Yeah. Is that your point?
I'm just being an asshole. I'm just
my point is that he is replaceable, in terms of with the. I would say that Torres.
I have a
Torres
theory.
Look at Ferran Torres, who I'm incredibly excited about. He already regardless of his end product, his sense of positioning is the closest that I've seen at City to Raheem's. In terms of where he knows where to be at the right time.
From a central positioning, yes, but tell me if you got $120 million tomorrow for Raheem Sterling, Tell me what club will be willing to sell their winger and for that price that you could get in tomorrow. Like that's the biggest thing.
I don't.
You don't sell Sterling for Grealish.
Here's the thing. I don't think that we would necessarily go for a winger.
Be foolish.
Because of the, I don't know.
The last true winger they have. I don't believe that City have a single winger in this squad except for him. Foden's not a winger. Bernardo's not a winger. Mahrez isn't the winger that I'm referencing and won't be here forever. Torres potentially might never play winger for City again. Like we already lost Sane.
And that's fine. We can. I'm glad that we're disagreeing on these lines because, like I said at the start, I do not think it's possible for Raheem Sterling to exist in this squad category. He is either crucial because he is the last remaining winger that we have, or he is transferable because he is such a valuable asset.
You know what? Since John hasn't gotten to be a deciding vote the entire podcast, and we're almost done, and a way to end this, I'm changing my category to transfer and just leaving it all up to John.
That was a mistake, Andrew.
Wait, how? Don't we both have him in crucial? Oh no, I said I'd accept an offer. I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
If he signs his contract, he's crucial to me. But until that point,
and I think I think that is a fair point and a good compromise to end on there, Joe. And I would go with that. Like if Raheem is prepared to commit himself to City, not only in kind of contractual terms, we don't need an Aubameyang on our hands where he signs his contract and is now on the bench for Arsenal because he's been underperforming since he signed his new deal. But is someone who's like, yes, I am committed to this club. I'm prepared to be the face of Manchester City, to Andrew's point, then absolutely he is crucial. But if he doesn't sign his contract, we need to sell him while his value is as high as it is. Or because certain clubs can't necessarily afford him, we need to figure out, okay, who can we trade him for that is going to be
Sterling and like 60 million for Mbappe.
I mean,
like the closest thing you're going to get to a mega seal.
I will say,
I don't know.
But I think that applies to everybody. If these guys are refusing to sign extensions, then.
But I don't think I have that concern about anybody in the squad that is of crucial status than Raheem Sterling.
That's a very large caveat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that on the basis of that, and I think the noises have been that Raheem is open to a new contract, and I think with things the way that they are, that's probably going to happen. So I'm just creating, I think, based on what we said, now we only have 3 players who have ended up in transfer, which was a lot less.
We're not crazy people here. It's just
we are, but we just seem to be rational based on this. And so this is what we have as our final list going into the January transfer window, and that's kind of an 11 there, basically.
Do we want to read that out just for the podcast listeners?
Yes, we will read this out for the podcast listeners. So our crucial lineup is Ederson, Cancelo, Stones, Diash, Laporte, Rodrigo, De Bruyne, Foden, Torres, Aguero, and Sterling. That's a heck of a team.
That's an 11. I was going to say that's literally an 11.
Laporte's at left back, and you might want to bring Mr. Squadman Nathan Ake in at left back for that particular squad. In the squad section are Zach Steffen, Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, Fernandinho, Ilkay Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, and Gabriel Jesus.
That's also a bench.
Yes.
Yeah, we did a good job.
And in the transfer category is Benjamin Mendy, Alexander Zinchenko, and Riyad Mahrez. So that's where we are. I think that's a very fair reflection, boys, on where City are at right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think, on the whole, if you'd presented all of us at the start of that with that particular breakdown, that any of us would have been super argumentative about it. All right.
I think the only reason why, just before one more ramble, John. No, I'll stop. This is the last one. Last one, I promise. The reason why I didn't have a full 11 in my crucial category is because, like, I think if you're saying that these 11 guys are crucial, that kind of implies that, like, you think you cannot improve your starting lineup. Like, these are the guys that we're going to be rolling with, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and then you look at that lineup again, and it's like, yes, Aguero we talked about isn't necessarily purely in that crucial category because of his longevity. That's not going to be there, but the rest of them are currently all in their 20s and could feasibly still be through 3 years be the starting lineup for City. All right, that's all we've got time for in our Where We Are episode of this transfer show. Next time we meet, we're going to be talking about potential transfer targets for January and maybe the summer as well. We'll see how expansive we are feeling. Until then, stay safe and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I guess. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
2021.
Right. It's got to be finally over, thank God.
Well, we're recording this like December 28th, so we don't actually know if the year will end. So that's the caveat that I'm going to end this whole thing with.
That's a good point. Good hedge.
Until next time, bye-bye, everybody.